Hey, this is, I don't know, someday. They're all blending together. Thursday, March 19th. All right. And on this one, hey, I'm not wearing a tie today. Remember last Friday when I was wearing my Care Bears shirt? This is going to make sense today because it's part of today's story. So, pew-pew. All right. So, again, happy coronavirus week. At this point, we're probably, being in the house and whatnot, giving yourself driven insane. We're going to get there. Today's story, I don't know how long. I think it'll be a shorter video, but we'll find out from there. Anyway, see, again, social media, go on there, TikTok, do the whole Olympians thing again. Thank you for those who have. Charger Challenge, that's only because I was going through and setting up my PowerPoint for today, and I saw that last year at this time, I was picking the Charger Challenge people, and it made me feel, what are those things called? Emotions. And so I wanted to share emotions with you guys and the fact that I have no idea about Charger Challenge. Well, one, definitely not doing one right now because but maybe Charger I have no idea what's going to happen. So anyway, I just wanted to share my sadness with you. And I do have some guest stars in my audience today, so I might get to have a conversation with a couple of them because the whole me not getting to talk to kids when I was teaching was driving me insane. So I went, what we call on the street and found random children, and I said, hey, who would like a free dose of coronavirus? And they said, me, and I said, well, come get in my white van, and they did. It was like, it's better than candy. So I've got a couple of coronavirus children here, and they're going to maybe interact. Say hello, coronavirus children.
No.
There.
Hi.
See? Look at that. Everyone loves a random child off the street.
Stop holding me captive.
Hey, I'll give you your candy later.
Can
So,
I slurp this?
no, that is random child from the street. You cannot drink my liquids. That's creepy and
Why
weird.
did you phrase it like that?
Because that's the way, see, this is so much better than me trying to teach. I'm so glad I learned to kidnap children. Their parents are going to be so upset. Your parents? No. Hey, you put that phone down. Stop dialing that number. Oh, it's only 3 numbers. You're fine. Wait, no. All right. So, back to here. On my website, you're going to want to probably go to this Underworld thing at some point because, one, yes, you can have those random child, but don't choke and die on them. And then Underworld, because there's an Underworld story on there, plus there's like a map of all these things that are going to go into it, and you're probably going to want to take a look at those. It's on here. When you find the mythology stories, find the one that says Tales of the Underworld. I think it actually says that when you hit the button, I have like a little voice thing that goes with it. So when you click the button, it actually make sure your volume's on and you turn it up. And you hit the button, open a new one, and it'll go Tales of the Underworld. It took me a long time to program it, so it's pretty exciting.
You did not do that.
So you can just keep hitting it and then reopening and hitting it. Listen, I'm throwing you back in the van. And so you can hit that button from there. Okay. Here is how our story goes for today. Since I have volunteers, we're going to go with Susan over here, random child I took off the street. So let's say young Susan gets lippy with the man that so kindly decided to offer her a small helping of coronavirus and take her just randomly off the street. So let's say poor Susan, say hi.
Hi.
Good job, Susan. You have a very deep voice. I appreciate that. That obviously means a lot. So let's say poor Susan dies from trying to escape from her kidnapper. And in that case, she falls over, her soul pops up, but you as a little ghost. Who is it that's going to come by and grab her soul ghost and take it down to the underworld? Yeah, it's the problem with you guys being random children that you guys have not been here for my class. That's why I have to get real children. It's a guy by the name of, kids at home? Good job, kid that spoke up. I could hear you. Connection. Hermes comes by and grabs.
That was weird.
That's why. Shh.
I heard
Throwing you into the van also. And grabs a little ghost, flash behind, drags them down, and there's like the little pathway that leads down to the underworld and releases them. There's underworld entrance. And then drops them into this big waiting room area. And just sort of releases them and they float down. This is not in the actual underworld yet. This is the underworld waiting room. There is a thing that's going to prevent them from getting into the actual underworld. And they can't go back up to Earth because it was supposed to be a really confusing cave system. So now poor little Susan is dropped off there. The thing preventing her from getting farther into the underworld is this giant body of water that she cannot cross called, good job,
River of Styx.
See? That's why I kidnapped that child. The River Styx. And so the river Styx was thought to be so poisonous and so deadly that no one could cross it, even dead people. It was thought that it could kill you even if you were dead. I kidnapped you for a reason, not to have you ask questions. Susan?
Isn't the boatman that takes you across?
We're not there. This is why I have to yell at kids all the time. Let me teach. I'll put you back in the car.
Shut up!
We don't say the shut up word. We say back in the van, Susan.
Back in the van, Susan.
Right, Karen. All right, so now we have the river Styx. It was, yeah, I threw a Karen at you. So now, oh, I miss teaching kids so much. Why are there kids for me to yell at? So now we have river Styx, which was thought to be so dangerous and deadly that even Susan, as a dead ghost, if she were to jump into it, it would kill her. I know. I don't have that. Isn't she? All right, she was. Basically, her ghost would jump in there, and it was like a video game. You would melt it, and then she would reappear back in here. But you go through all the pain. You, even as a ghost, you have like the ability to have nerves and feelings, and be like lots of like, no, I've made poor choices, no, and then you would die and get pulled into it. You can't slow me down. I have a time limit. Thank you. And so we have that. So there was a way to get across, and the way to get across,
boatman.
there you go. There was a boatman by the name of Charon, Charon. And then, Charon? There you go. And Charon's job was to take people from that area down here into the actual underworld. And you had to give him a gold coin to get across. If you did not give him gold coin, he would not take you. Now the part comes up, well, I thought Susan was dead and a ghost. She was. So in Greek mythology, here's what they would do. Let's say that Susan's parents find her body and they go bury poor dead Susan. When they did, they would take a gold coin and they would put it into her mouth like a little piggy bank. They'd like, open up the mouth, drop in gold coin, close it up. The idea was that this gold coin would travel with her soul down to Underworld. Susan would then show up, walk up to it, the boatman, and she'd give a little and spit out gold coin, and then she could wipe it off on her little shirt, go over to Charon, hand it to him, and then he would then let her on the boat and she would go across. But let's say Susan's body is never found because the evil teacher that kidnapped her to use her as an example in his classroom, he doesn't want to talk to, goes and hides the body in his closet because he's ingenious like that. So she doesn't get buried with a gold coin. So now when she gets down to the underworld and she's like, gold coin! Ha! Ha! Oh, she can't get across. It was thought that she would then have to wander around and be stuck here until eventually one of two things would happen. Someone else would give her an extra gold coin and she could cross, or Charon would have an empty spot and they could form a line and he would take people across from there. So let's say Karen,
that is not my name.
You know who says that? Karen's. And so Karen over here, let's say that Karen ends up dying. And when Karen dies and her body is found, well, Susan's parents go and talk to Karen's parents like, hey, you know, that evil teacher man who keeps like, he's like, I want to teach Greek mythology and killed both our kids. So because of that, can we put extra gold coins into your daughter's mouth? So every once in a while, they would have a thing, they would bury somebody, and they would put extra gold coins in their mouth. So we open up Karen's mouth, like a little, the piggy bank, and we drop in the gold coins, blah, 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 and you close it back up, and then you go down. Or, let's say that Karen had an older brother, you know, Mr. Karen, who died in like a war, and we never got a chance to get to his body, and we're worried that older brother Karen, Kari, is wandering around that area because the parents named them Kari and Karen because that's what Karen's parents would do. And so like, hey, we're going to give you this extra gold coin and put it in there. And then Susan's parents show up and they carve like Susan's name into the gold coin. This is for Susan. And they carve the whole thing into it, drop it in there. Now, when Karen shows up in the underworld and she walks up, she's like, pocket. And there's like a slot machine. And there's a whole bunch of gold coins come flying out. She then can go around. She's like, this one says, for Susan. And Susan's like, that's me! And runs over and grabs the gold coin. Another one says, for Kari. And Kari's like, I've been dead a long time. That's for me. And he comes over and grabs it. But then let's say her parents are friendly and gave her a whole bunch of other gold coins. So now she gets to make it hail. And she's like, who wants to have friends? And she goes around just giving a whole bunch. What are you looking for, Karen?
Your keys.
Yeah, they're on me. So that way you can't take them. That prevents small children from escaping. Why do you need my keys? Yeah, that's not going to happen right now. So, because of that, she then gets to make a whole bunch of friends, and this gets to share them with everyone, and now they come across, and they go to the other side of the river. Once they get to the other side of the river, it's still not done, because once they, once they get to there, now we get to the guardian of the underworld, whose job is to prevent anybody from going to the other side who is not dead. It prevents any living titan or human from getting across. This guardian of the underworld is a giant three-headed dog by the name of Cerberus. Cerebus. And he was supposed to be humongous, had 3 big snappy heads on him, and he could smell living flesh. And anytime that you crossed, he would then roar and attack you and bite into you and eat you and stuff like that. You might recognize the three-headed dog because it was in Harry Potter, the very first movie. He was at the top of the little hatch thing. There's also been in any kinds of other movies that had giant three-headed dogs. I think Percy Jackson had a version of him in there. And so anyway, that is the one. So my shirt, the one you see here, see there, this instead of Cerberus, Cerberus or Cereb, but this was Carebearus instead of Cerberus. Carebearus. Anyway, it made me smile.
Sorry, the police are here. We gotta go.
Oh, you guys will be missed. I'm sorry to hear that. Well, don't rat me out, or you're not going to get your free candy.
Can I say hi to the camera?
Sure. Be fast.
I know you're on a time limit.
I might be found interrupting your class and being mean to him.
So then, once you go past Cerberus, you get down to the main area. Hey, children, I'm not taking that. You got to grab your piles of... hang on 1 second. We'll be back. I have to go flush a child.
Teach!
So I wanted to stand there, pause for a second. I figured that'd freak you guys out because you'd be like, what happened? And you would try to feed me back and forth. So I was entertaining myself on that one. So the goblin children are gone. Apparently, they called the police and they came and took them away or something like that. So anyway, sadness. So now it's just back to me being by myself and there's nothing fun. So back to here. I enjoyed having my goblin children here to entertain me for a little bit. So Cerberus. Cerberus's job is to do his best to try and prevent any living person or titan or anybody from coming across and getting down into the underworld. If you did, he would attack you, roar, and eat you, and then you would reappear back up on that other side. So, once you get down here to this area, this, in Greek mythology, this main area was called the asphodel fields. In Greek mythology, everyone goes to the asphodel fields, whether you're a good person or a bad person. Anyone who dies who goes there. If you are a nun and a saint and you spend your whole time saving babies, you go to the asphodel fields. If you're a horrible person, you're like a half demon and you spend your time punting babies, punt, and kicking them, you would still go to the asphodel fields. It's just where dead people went. The idea of the Christian version of hell with the burning and the pits and the spikes and the demons did not exist in Greek mythology. This was literally just dead people, like zombies or skeletons, or you want to look at it, just wandering around talking to each other, being really bored, and that was about it. Plus, this is where we would have Hades' throne, where he would sit down there, and then you'd have Mrs. Hades, which, for the name, Persephone, and so she'd be sitting over there, so they had their 2 thrones, and then you'd have just a whole bunch of dead people wandering around in this area. So let's say Karen and Susan, who are now dead and in this area, someone misses them. Let's say Jimmy. And Jimmy is like, I'm going to go save them. So Jimmy finds out where they are. And he goes ahead and gets a bunch of gold coins. And he comes running down there and finds a special map to get through it. Comes all the way down there, shows up, gives the gold coin to Charon. And he's like, I'm coming to save you, Karen and Susan. And he goes across and he hops off on the far side and he sees Susan and Karen. And he waves them and he's like, I'm going to come get you. And he goes running across there. As soon as he would go past Cerberus, Cerberus would turn and go, roar, and eat him and tear him into little pieces. And of course, as soon as that happened, where would he reappear? Right back over here. And he'd reappear back in that spot, and that would kill him. And if he did not have a gold coin, he'd be stuck there. Unless, like, as he was like, and he had like a gold coin in his mouth, and that'd be stupid because it means he's planning to die. Or maybe while Cerberus was eating him and tearing him into little pieces, he took a gold coin and threw it into his mouth. But otherwise, he'd be stuck there. And for thousands of years in Greek mythology, this is all that existed, was just the asphodel fields. But then Zeus decides to come up with another part. And he decides that every once in a while there is a human he wants to torture. Someone who has done something awful. And so he creates special punishments just for those humans. And there's not very many. There's like a dozen or so throughout the course of all time who get put down there. The Titans are still down there. So you still have, in this place, it's called Tartarus. And you still have all the Titans down in the pit of Tartarus. But up around the top of this pit, you would have special rooms set up for tortures for different people. And these are the ones that we're going to get to. Some of the stories you get a chance to read. There's going to be Tantalus and Sisyphus and Ixion and Dionysus. And I'll try to give you like quick versions of each one of those. And so they all get tortured into the pit of Tartarus. And so this exists for a long time. You only get sent to Tartarus if you made Zeus mad. It was a special agreement he had with Hades. He was the only one that sent people there for the most part. And if you went around killing babies or stabbing humans, that would not get you sent there. You'd be the worst human to ever exist, would not get you sent there. You had to do something to personally make Zeus mad to get sent there. Like if he got a brand new pair of like those Air Jordan 1s and they're like super nice, and he's like walking around Mount Olympus, he's like, look at my brand new shoes. And you ran up and you're like, scuff, scuff, scuff across the front of him. That would be what sent you down to Tartarus, because you don't scuff a man's new A41s. And so because of that, that's what we're looking for. And then for a long time, that was the only thing that existed. So eventually, Zeus was impressed with a handful of humans who sort of went above and beyond and did like amazing things down on Earth to the point that he recognized them. And other gods were like, you know what? I think we need to have a thing for really special humans who go above and beyond. So he creates a third area down there. We have asphodel fields, where almost everyone goes. Tartarus, special place for punishments. And then he creates this place over here called the Elysian Fields. Elysian. I'm not sure how well you can see it on there. Can we focus for a second? Focusy. Elysian Fields. And the Elysian Fields was a happy place. It would have rainbows and butterflies and open fields like a sun underneath the ground. And you could get sent there if you really impressed the gods and they really, really liked you. Usually it was like in a battle and you had to be a hero or something like that. Then you would get sent there for impressing them. But the biggest thing about going to the Elysian Fields, if you were judged and got sent there, is you had a special choice to make. You could choose to be reborn if you went there, where you could then get a whole new stream from the fates, be reborn, and come through this whole life thing all over again. But the problem is, if you got reborn and you didn't do anything impressive, you could get sent to the asphodel fields, spend the rest of your time there, even though you used to be there. Or you could turn out to be a horrible jerk and get sent to the pit of Tartarus. I have no stories of that happening, but it was possible. But that was the thing you'd have to decide. Was it worth going through being a human again and being sent here? Or, worst case scenario, you could be a baby and get like die as a baby, and then you have like a baby down there, and like people will be tripping over you, it'd be awful. But it gets even better. If you get sent here, choose to be reborn, and then become a really impressive person, and get sent here for a second time, now you have a really tough choice. Because now, if you could do that a third time, so 3 times you go through, get sent here, get reborn, come down, impress the gods, and they send you here. Your third time, you don't go to the Elysian Fields. You go to even a specialer place called Isle of the Blessed. And the way Isle of the Blessed worked was, it was not down on the Underworld. It was actually up on Mount Olympus. You became a Titan, and you got to hang out with the gods on Mount Olympus. You got to go to their poker games, and you got to hang out with them, and like all kinds of those exciting things that went into it. The problem with Isle of the Blessed is that I find stories saying that it exists, and that some people got sent there, but I can't find any specific stories. I can't tell you like the story of Jojo Bean, who got sent All I can find is them making references to it. I wish I could tell you a story about someone who sent there. All I know is that this was their explanation of how it worked. 99% of the people here, small number in Tartarus, small number in Elysian Fields. Apparently, Isle of the Blessed exists. We just never got a chance to go to it. So now, this is the Underworld. This is what happens when you die. So it gives you an overall idea. And I have this on the handout for the Underworld thing if you go and download that thing. So for the tortures. So I have a handful of tortures that I could show you guys on there too. I don't know if I have I don't have little video things to go with them. To give you a quick rundown. If you want to know the specifics of what happens, read the stories. But I'm like running out of time now because I'm at 21 minutes and I want to go past 25 and make you guys get all grumpy at me and stuff like that. So I'm going to give you speedy versions of them. And if you want to know more, then you can, one, read about them. Two, if you really want to know and you guys like send me messages on Remind or something, then I'll like record one or do something where I tell the stories and we'll see. But I don't want to give you guys any more work than I have to. So I'm trying to be nice to you guys. So the 4 stories. One, the Dionysies. And with the Dionysies, it was these 50 sisters. And that Zeus said they had to marry these 50 guys as part of this whole like arranged marriage thing. And the 50 sisters got really grumpy. So in the middle of the night, all 50 daughters on the night of their marriage stabbed their husbands and killed them. Zeus found out about it and gets super angry and tortures them and puts this in this big thing where they have to fill like a big pot with water, but it never ends. And he puts them in a room with like no windows, and being that they're underground, he says, you'll never die and you get to live here forever. And as soon as you fill this giant pot with water, then you guys get released. And so it's like a swimming pool sized thing. And so the girls would go and take a big scoop of water from these outside jugs, dump it in the middle swimming pool with the idea that once it was filled, they'd pay their penance and they could get released. But Zeus set it up where every time they dumped water in, the water pressure would push it out and refill the side ones. So essentially, there was no way for them to ever fill it up. And because they couldn't tell the passage of time, they kept thinking they were really close to being done, and they were there forever and ever and ever. There's another story called Tantalus, which is really fun. It's about a guy who tries to trick the gods because he finds out that they're allergic to human flesh. And the rumor was that if they ate human flesh, then they would die. So he invites the gods to his house because he was friends with them and go up to Mount Olympus. And then he kills his own son, Pelops, P-E-L-O-P-S. Kills his own son and then cooks him into a stew and serves him to the gods to see if he can trick them to prove that they are not as special as they think they are. But he gets caught and Zeus figures out what's going on. I think Athena figured it out. But anyway, figured out what was going on, and then he gets tortured into this pit. We have this in the Underworld, in Tartarus. He gets stuck into this pit that fills up with water, and it has a tree of fruit hanging above him. But every time that he reached down to try and scoop up the water level would drop. And every time he reached up to try and grab onto the fruit tree wind would blow and raise it out of the way. So he tried to reach the fruit and couldn't. Tried to reach down to get the water and couldn't. And Zeus tapped him in the tummy and gave him unbearable hunger and thirst. So the whole time he kept trying to reach the food and get the water and couldn't. It was just there to taunt him. We actually get the word tantalize or tantalizing from the person Tantalus, with the idea of having something just outside of your reach that you can't get to. It comes from him. Sisyphus was a guy that tricked Hades when he was supposed to die, and he ended up getting a chance to come back up to Earth and running out of time. So for that one, he gets tortured down in the Underworld, and essentially there's this giant rock that he has to push up a hill, and Zeus tells him, hey, in order to make things better, here's what's going to happen with you. All you have to do is push this rock to the top of the hill, and then you'll be released. But Zeus basically put a magnet inside the rock and the opposite magnet at the top of the hill. So every time the rock would get close to it, the magnets would repulse each other and push the rock back down. Again, Sisyphus was underground in this giant room. He had no idea how long he was down there. There was no window, no daylight, and he had no feel of hunger. So Zeus said, you can keep doing this until eventually you get it up there. And so he kept pushing it with no release. We actually get the term Sisyphean from him. Sisyphean, Sysyphean, means to try and do a thing that you cannot succeed at, but you keep trying to do it. Like for some of you, the Sisyphean feat would be to get through a week of my class without losing B points. You keep trying, but you're not able to do it. Maybe this week you can. Fingers crossed, you're almost there. But that would be Sisyphean. That's you pushing that rock. You're like, not going to lose B points, not going to lose B points, not going to lose B points. And then you almost get to the top and you're like, hey, that kid over there's an idiot. Oh, rock. It rolls all the way back down. Same idea. And the last one is a story about a guy named Ixion. Ixion. And what he did was mac on Zeus's wife, Hera. And got caught doing it, thought that Zeus would know, and he tried to mac on her, and Zeus got super jealous and angry, and so he did not even get creative when it came to Ixion. All he did for Ixion was take him, tie him to a giant wheel, like a old the things on the covered wagons, like that kind of wheel that was made out of steel, spun it, so he's spinning like this, and then put fire underneath one part of it. So as he spun, it would slowly burn off each part of him, but Zeus sort of gave him the same thing as he did Prometheus, where you'd heal back from it. And so as he sat there and spun, he just kept burning and healing and burning and healing. And Zeus wasn't even trying to be nice. Zeus was just mad. And it was like, you're just going to burn and be out of luck. And left him there. There's other ones, but there's like the 4 like big exciting ones that go into it. And there's longer versions of the stories. I was trying to give you the speedy one to, I've already been talking for 26 minutes and I don't want to go any longer. So, all right, that's it. I'll talk to you guys later tomorrow. There's a quiz. There's a quiz tomorrow, which is going to be on Socrative. So hopefully you've paid attention to all these things. And again, I miss you guys and I wish you were here. And I know you're enjoying being shut up at home and playing video games and stuff like that, but I enjoy teaching, and it's not the same thing teaching to an empty room. I want kids to yell at. I didn't realize how much I missed yelling at kids until I'm trying to teach and you guys aren't here. But, all right. See you later.